As some of you may know, I am a huge fan of the Warhammer Sisters of Battle faction, and I have painted and created my own army over the many years that I have been on this channel. However, while producing all of these videos, I've had something that's been brewing in the back of my mind for quite a while, and I'm really excited to be able to share that with you guys today. That's right, you probably guessed, this is where the idea of the Sisters of the Old Blood began, and is now being developed into a fully fledged miniatures line. Now there's so much to go through in this video, but I want to take you guys back on a journey, back to where it all started, how this idea came to be, and the videos that we made along the way. So in a couple of months time, I will be taking a short break from tabletop time, and if the reason wasn't obvious, there's this video that you can go watch. Otherwise, it's pretty obvious, I guess. Yes, but I'll be taking a short break, and one of the things I really wanted to do was to be a part of the Sisters of the Old Blood release. So let's journey into the past and see where this project first began.
It's tabletop time! I'm Dave.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Rob.
And today we are going to be working on the famed Cathedral build.
This is where it all began. This was my first video on tabletop time. So Rob, Dave, and I all sat down for a live stream, and we just built it all up. We talked about some of the hardships of building an MDF terrain and some of the really cool things as well. And one of the things that I personally noted was that there was so much room for creativity when it came to building up this terrain. And I think I was just also getting back into Sisters of Battle. So this terrain piece I was really excited for because it just was Sisters, Cathedral, Sisters of Battle. Of course, the two just worked together really, really well.
In my downtime, I've been working on a Sisters of Battle army. So I've been getting really into like religious sort of figures and iconery. So this project is perfect for me at the moment. I actually plan to base my sisters on a cathedral and with stained glass and roses everywhere. So this is a really cool board for me if I ever actually do want to play on it.
Looking back, this was also really the birth of the idea of tabletop time. It was a bunch of friends getting together, building hobby together, just talking, having fun. It's interesting now because that's kind of the mantra that we still have at tabletop time. So we spent a good couple of hours making this up, made it into a video, and I really saw the vision of what this could be and what it could look like as a board as well.
And here we are with all of our pieces made. Wow, this looks so good.
It's
I'm very impressed.
Crazy. Incredibly cool, and this is literally step one in the journey to turning this into something massive, amazing, and cool.
It's tabletop time and I'm Dave. Wait, no, I'm Jen.
With the terrain pieces all built, it was time to move on to building the actual board. And I had never built a board before as well, ever, but I was very excited. But I was also terrified of being on camera for the first time and trying to convey an idea to an audience that didn't know me and didn't know what I had to offer. Despite this, I did know that I had the skills, the passion, and just a little bit of gusto to make this work. I know I wanted to break this board build up into different areas, different projects, and different parts I could research, as I really did want to try and explore all the different options and new stuff that was coming out for the hobby at the time.
Now it's time for phase 2 of my plan.
There was one idea that I had at the very start of this project that I noticed with the miniature scenery terrain. There was these big cutouts that sat in the very back of most of these spaces, and these were perfect for a stained glass window.
This part I am super excited for. We're going to be making miniature stained glass windows that's going to fit right into our awesome scenery.
And really, it's these stained glass windows that sparked the creation of me wanting to create my own custom Sisters army. The idea was to try and create custom 3D printable windows out of clear resin, then to try and paint them up and make them look like stained glass windows.
Hey Dave,
Yes.
I need you to 3D print something for me.
All right, fingers crossed. This should be done in about 10 minutes. Are you hopeful?
I'm worried.
You're worried?
I'm super worried.
Ready?
No!
What's no?
It turned into jelly.
What?
It's jelly.
That's gorgeous.
Dude, what the Oh my god, it totally worked! I now need to make about 50 more of them in different sizes.
Okay.
And overall, the project was a huge success. Little did I know that this would actually sort of form how I would be creating stuff in the future. This stained glass windows project and just the concept in general really did pave the way for Sisters of the Old Blood. It's something I include in all my designs, and I guess you could even say it's a major part of the design aesthetic.
All right, Jen, and it's back to you in the studio. That was so lame.
So we have a new miniature line coming out, and I'm super duper excited to announce the Sisters of the Old Blood. This is a faction mostly comprising of awesome looking females that have inspiration taken from Bloodborne and Victorian era. Oh, and there's also some dark themes going on as well in the background, which we'll touch on a little bit later. Now there's gonna be heaps more detail on them a little bit later in the video, but I just wanted to say right now that there is a backer kit page that is live and ready for you to go follow. So if you want all the updates and to see what we've been up to, make sure you go check it out. Links are down in the description below. It's in the same universe as our previous campaign, Kindred of the Abyss, and there's just as much awesome stuff in this campaign as there was in that one. I'm super excited for this project, and there is so much on offer here, and I think it's also really unique. I haven't seen something like this done before, and we've all had our little bit of inspiration and ideas put together to make a really awesome campaign. And these models are just at the beginning. There's so much on offer here. So make sure you go check out the backer kit. Links are down in the description below. And now let's move on to the rest of the video.
So after the stained glass video window was done, I was slowly brewing these ideas of a custom Sisters army that I could get into, but we had a board build to finish. The next part of the board build was actually doing the outside. So I got to play with some laser cut plants, which was very cool, as well as making a Sisters of Battle fountain and even getting to play with UV resin for the first time. I think it's all of these little bits and pieces of these projects that really do make it come to life. I could have just slapped paint onto the MDF terrain and called it a day, but I really wanted to try and tell a story with this board build, and I had so much fun just playing around with things and just finding out if it worked and if I liked it.
Dave took a look at the bottom of the fountain and he thought I could add a mosaic to the bottom of it. And again, too much work, but I have to do it because it'll look way too good, dang it.
At the end of the day, that's the beauty and the joy of this job, is that I get to be able to play with this stuff, figure it out, and tell you guys if it's even worth playing with.
And that's another piece of the cathedral done. But I am kind of getting a little bit hungry. These plants here, I don't know if, I mean, they're kind of like gamer's grass plants. They're like,
It's tabletop time, and in today's video, we're gonna do some graffiti. Yeah! Woo!
This series also allowed me to deep dive into the world of Warhammer 40k, and this also included the lore. In one of the videos, I experimented with graffiti and how it would look in the world of Warhammer 40k.
Yeah!
And it's little things like this that you wouldn't necessarily even think about on a broader spectrum if you're trying to come up with your own custom army. These little bits of information that help flesh out the story that you're trying to create. And it's from doing some of this research that I was able to formulate some of my own ideas into how I wanted my custom faction army to work, and their lore as well.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, yeah. Oh, low angle. Yeah. Yeah. Now spray paint some air while you're doing it.
Ready?
Yeah. Spray that way. You're spraying in your own face.
I know.
it's tabletop time. I'm Jen.
I'm Murray.
And I'm Dave.
And today we are doing the final piece of the cathedral. We are building the board and putting everything together.
And so we arrive at the last video for this series. All of the terrain is pretty much painted at this point. Everything's been put in, glued, and now we just need to adhere it to its actual board.
So we don't actually need to paint the base coat of the earth.
Correct.
So what color are you thinking?
Brown, believe it or not.
Transition!
Oh,
What was your thing?
I was high-fiving, but
Ah.
you guys didn't. Go again. Wow. Wow.
There was a huge sense of relief seeing everything finally just glued down and staying in one place, and actually seeing how it all was going to look as a final piece as well. At this point in time, it had just been sort of floating around the studio, so seeing it as a fully big diorama, essentially. It was so cool. There's always a chance with these big board builds or just any project in general to become a peter out. You sort of forget about it, you lose interest or passion or hope even, and it just gets put to the side. But I am so glad that we did manage to see this one through till the end. This project in general inspired me so much, and I learnt a lot from this journey, which is why it was important to include it in this video, because without it, it doesn't make much sense into why or how the Sisters of the Old Blood came to be. And all of this really was leading up to the next big thing, which was the next set of videos that I released, which were to do with the Sisters of the Old Blood.
All right, let's get down to it.
Get down to business.
Because this board is going to be a Kill Team board, I know I'm going to have to get my hands on some Kill Team novitiates.
And I'm a bit of a fantasy nerd as well as a sci-fi nerd. So mixing the two together, nothing better.
Okay, so where are we up to? The Cathedral, which is our Kill Team board, is all done and ready to go. And at this point in time in my personal journey, not on tabletop time, I had about a combat patrol sized Sisters of Battle army. So safe to say I was ready to move on to the next big thing. Making my actual kill team for this fully built Cathedral board.
Hi sisters!
The novitiates. But despite having an army that represented the faction Our Martyred Lady, I really wanted to do something different. It's funny how painting an entire army of the same color can slowly drive you insane. So we move on to the first line of ideas and videos that would become the stepping stones into creating the Sisters of the Old Blood. So one of my favorite concepts that exists within the Sisters of Battle is this design aesthetic that they have for some of their units that I would say is almost medieval meets sci-fi. And in particular, the novitiates and the sacrosaints are the two kits that I think encapsulate this design language really, really well. Design choices like more melee weapons and stripping down a lot of the power armor, and not to mention their really cool big shields, were aesthetics that I wanted to use in my army. For this particular unit and this project alone, I decided to dabble into an old Japanese proverb,
Which is see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. I thought in context to the 40k universe, this is a concept that could work really, really well.
It's the first time I took a piece of lore and tried to translate it into a miniature. So in the circumstances of the novitiates, I thought it would be really cool for them to have a veil over their mouths, their ears covered, and even in some cases have their eyes covered as well. They were also wearing big bands of scripts where they could write so they couldn't speak instead, and just little bits and pieces like that that created a really cool lore and a really cool story at the end of the day. Again, without really knowing it, this would become a key design element into creating the Sisters of the Old Blood. In the end, I was pretty happy with how these guys turned out, but they didn't really hit the mark for me. And this really did come down to the paint scheme that I had chosen for them. I went for really bright poppy colors, again trying to take inspiration from the medieval feel with having some symmetry and really bright colors. But in the end, I think that the concepts that I really did like and adore was more of the grimdark aesthetic. Plus, red is one of my favorite colors, so not including that just seemed kind of wrong. So doing this project formed the building blocks into what I wanted to create in an army and the story that I wanted to tell with them, how they would look, what they would have, so on and so forth. And having these established to a degree, it was time to tackle what was possibly the biggest project that I have ever done on Tabletop Time, and another one that, again, I'm very, very proud of.
Whoa, Jen, looking at a codex.
Yeah, it's my Sisters of Battle Codex. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of really awesome stuff in here. But I found something missing. I can't take knights, it seems.
Well, you can as an ally, but knights aren't part of the Sisters of Battle army.
That seems super silly. I'm gonna change that. We're gonna build a Sisters of Battle knight. Woohoo!
So, my Sister's Knight, a unit that doesn't exist within the Sisters of Battle. My Sister's Knight was probably one of the most ambitious projects that I had done on the channel. So ambitious, I had to split it up into 2 videos. It's important to note that before I had said how much I loved the mashup of medieval and sci-fi, and the Sister's Knight was an absolute perfect blend of both of these. I really loved its sleek and lean design, as well as this awesome shield and a lance as well. This thing just screams medieval in sci-fi land.
Our prayers have been answered. We're going to be painting a custom Sisters of Battle knight for Warhammer 40k.
The two main components for this project were the stained glass that I wanted to try and incorporate into the shield that the knight had already had, as well as placing a giant organ onto his back and surrounding it with candles. So I was still keeping the original medieval and sci-fi, but adding just a little bit of touch of gothic into there as well.
Previously on Tabletop Time, Jen custom built a Sisters of Battle Knight Lancer, and then Dave attempted to use blood sacrifices to catch up.
It's safe to say that this project really did set the tone of the aesthetics that what would become my Custom Sisters chapter. And there were a couple of things that I was noticing were starting to slowly slip away from what the Warhammer Sisters of Battle originally were to what my own custom chapter was. The sort of nunnery vibe and some of the religious iconography was slowly changing into something different.
Should we go give Murray his hand back? Maybe?
You're not gonna eat that?
So speaking of new concepts, I ran...
Jen. Unironically, I literally just took these off the print bed. These are the first ones ever printed of Sisters. So these are the test prints that Patrick's just sent over. And
oh my god, the shoulder pads are so good.
Right? And you've got like the hands holding the lanterns and goblets over here. And the fan, have you seen that? Like the... They've got like a... Yeah, literally like...
like a Lady Millie.
Yeah, exactly. And
oh, the lantern is sick.
And anyway, sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
Fun.
Yay. So, speaking of new concepts. I had decided to do a video on a Sister of Battle who had fallen to chaos. Muriel Sabathel. I said it. I learned how to say it. Muriel Sabathel, haha.
That's right, I've finally managed to successfully corrupt Jen and lead her down the path of damnation.
Hooray! So let's get started. And what was really interesting about this project was playing with the concept of being evil. A corrupted sister was a really interesting concept in hindsight and made me delve into the idea of what exactly is good and evil, especially in the 40k universe. How far is someone willing to go in their virtue of doing what is considered right before they go too far and succumb to evil? I'm all done with my conversion. There she is, and I'm really happy with this. I think it turned out really, really well, and then we'll get painting. Yay! There was a lot of interesting elements at play here, and I think I really fell in love with a potentially darker side of the sisters. One of my favorite stories is that of Final Fantasy X, in particular the story of New Yevon and how it is completely corrupt and how Yuna is just a pawn in all of it. And I think the idea of a religion hiding all of these dark secrets again was really, really good inspiration into what I would be creating in the future. And another source of inspiration as well was the game Bloodborne. Dave and I had just gotten into it and we were obsessed with the lore. All of the character designs, the weapon designs, everything. It had some really, really cool and interesting concepts that again married this gothic and medieval vibe together to create something new and fresh. Okay, so now it was time to translate all of these concepts and ideas that I had into an actual army. What would these individual units actually look like within my faction? I had a lot of the smaller iconography established, but I wanted to expand a lot more on the lore and the backstory. So I'd seen a couple of comments of people mentioning demon hunting, and I absolutely agree. I think that this covenant should be about hunting. I really love this sort of representation and tying it back with Bloodborne. As mentioned before, I liked the idea of a faction fighting for valor or for glory, but was being puppeteered by something much more dark and sinister underneath. One of the core pieces of lore that I had explored in the game Bloodborne was the idea of them drinking blood. I really liked the idea of this slight touch of vampirism being incorporated into the sisters. And this is kind of where I settled on the name the Sisters of the Old Blood.
And a comment here left by Trash Bash Man gave me the suggestion for my covenant, which was Sisters of the Old Blood, and I think that that is an absolutely perfect name for this covenant.
But this is also where I draw the line in the sand. So I love the Sisters of Battle, and I love my faction, the Sisters of the Old Blood. But much like other stuff that has been created on the channel, such as the Space Bears, I really wanted it to become its own thing. So while the Sisters of the Old Blood may have originated and inspired by playing and building Warhammer 40k, I wanted to create something that personally was my own and encompassed all the things that I have loved and created throughout this journey. And this is the reason why there's been a lot less Sisters videos. However, we have been working on something absolutely massive in the background. I had never kit bashed, converted, or even just customized before like I have for the Sisters. And I do think that practice makes perfect. So I'm really thankful that I've had the opportunity to be able to try all these new things out, which allows me to create things that I'm really proud of. And here we are.
So now that you guys know a little bit about the past, let's talk about where we're currently sitting with this project. So about over a year ago, we all sat down and decided that we wanted to try and create a line of miniatures that was tabletop time, things that we were inspired by, factions and lore that we could really get behind and sink our teeth into. So we all pitched different ideas for this world, and then we released them to patrons for people to vote on what they thought was the coolest. So the idea was to try and create this world with these different factions that we had come up with. The world itself really spoke of dark hopelessness, again trying to encapture what Warhammer 40k kind of was back in the old day. However, we did want to have this undertone of satire. Make it a little bit humorous, funny, and a little bit weird and odd. So one of the first factions that came from this was Kindred of the Abyss. This was an idea pitched by Dave originally, and from there it just absolutely blew up. We had so many ideas and concepts, and we made an awesome line of miniatures that became fully realized. So the campaign was super successful. We met all of our stretch goals, which is absolutely awesome, and it also ensured that we could make future releases as well. But it will be fulfilled before we start our next campaign. And the miniatures are ready to go, so you can check out Kindred of the Abyss over on BackerKit. You can download all the minis over there as well. However, if you didn't back that campaign, then maybe you'll be interested in our next one. So Kindred of the Abyss, if you don't know, are these really weird mutated guys that are undersea dwellers. They're horrible people, murder, kidnap children. They're just a bad bunch of guys. However, they're also kind of stupid and dumb, taking their helmets off underwater just so they can get some fresh air. And obviously with disastrous consequences. So with that campaign being super successful, we can move on to the next one, which I'm super excited for, which is Sisters of the Old Blood. So when creating this faction, I really wanted the main focus to be strong females. That's something I love painting, it's something I love being represented, so I wanted that to really be the core concept of the faction that I wanted to create. So Sisters of the Old Blood are heavily inspired by Victorian era concepts and design aesthetics, and then also mixing in some Lovecraftian themes as well as the dark corruption in Bloodborne. So within this universe, each faction has different levels of technology that is accessible to them. So the setting that these guys are in is a post-apocalyptic world. So in this world, there are varying levels of technology that the factions have available to them. So in the case of the Sisters of the Old Blood, they've got a lower level of technology. We needed to come up with a way to make them stand up and fight in their own battles. So this is where my idea of creating something demonic or evil behind the scenes came into play. And also kind of what the faction's name is all about, Sisters of the Old Blood. So the Old Blood is connected to an elder god that basically runs a lot of the sister society. It's all undercover, in secret, no one really knows about it except the really higher ups. So it really introduces the idea of heroes fighting for good, but are they really? Each sister will consume some of this blood, which gives them some supernatural abilities, such as enhanced strength, speed, regeneration, that sort of thing. But there is a hidden sacrifice to this, which we won't spoil just now. You'll have to keep watching to find out what that is.
All right then, keep your secrets.
Scattered within the world is also some ancient technology that, in the case of the sisters, they have found these really cool power suits. These elite sisters don these amazing but ancient looking suits that grant them even more power on the battlefield. And the concept sketches that we came up for these and the miniatures look so cool. I'm really happy with their design. The Sisters of the Old Blood are one of the most populous societies that exist on this world. Well, that's known of at least. Around the vast order of sisters, sprawling cities crop up, filled with civilians that are living not so amazing lives, but are thriving nonetheless. The streets are dirty. Chimney sweeps, paper boys, things that are reminiscent of the Victorian era inhabit the streets of these cities. And all of them turn towards the worship that is the Sisters of the Old Blood. And nothing could possibly go wrong there, could it? So hopefully I've got you hyped and ready to check out this campaign, and what a campaign it's going to be. The pre-launch page for Sisters of the Old Blood is now live, so make sure you go and follow for updates. We've got some amazing stuff to kick off this campaign, including 2 units of basic infantry, the Crusading Sisters that come with swords and melee options, giving you some customization and options when it comes to what you want these guys to be fielding. The other basic unit we have is the Huntresses, dressed up in their fine attire with their own hunting rifles. And I have to say, I also personally really love their little fascinator hats on these guys. I think they just add that little bit of something that make them unique. Next up, we have our 2 heavy units. We have our elite infantry, and these guys are wearing that ancient power armor that I mentioned before and looking fabulous while doing it. And then we have our Sanctum guards, who have stained glass windows, one of the things that I absolutely wanted to include in this range. We don't have pictures of that, but we will soon. And lastly, for this release, I wanted to include something that created a storytelling element. Like in our previous campaign, Kindred of the Abyss, we had the Bingus Boys. I wanted to create a line of 3 sisters, the Huntresses. I wanted to create a line of sisters that was a heavy, medium, and small, but are also characterful, that have a little bit of story and lore behind them to really help establish this world. These Huntresses chase down the abominations that occasionally escape from their cities. And that's what we have for now. However, there are so many stretch goals for this campaign, and it's gonna be just as big, if not bigger, than our previous one. Oh, and one of them's a train. We're gonna do a train, and I'm really excited for the train because train's cool and trains are great. I love trains. I'm really excited for the train. It's gonna be great. So please make sure you follow. All the links are down in the description below. We would love to have your support, and we hope you're just as excited for these guys as I am.
It's Business Dave here with business updates. I wanted to just get through it really quickly. A couple of updates so you know the status of all the projects we're working on, what's happening with them, and anyone wondering about those questions kind of just has a pretty concise answer. So I'm going to start from the earliest campaign we did, which is the Space Bears Kickstarter campaign. That campaign is now fully fulfilled with one exception. There is a Space Bears short story. Originally, Jazza was going to be writing this short story, but he decided instead, after getting the writing bug, he was going to write a whole novel. So he did that instead, and it left us without a writer for the short story, which kind of ended up being me. I've never done this before. It's taking longer than I expected. Hey, it's fun and I'm excited to share it with you, but as the Space Bears campaign was about, well, Space Bears miniatures, it feels a bit like a fun thing that it'll just be a nice thing when you get it, which will happen. We're not abandoning any of the campaigns or any of the stretch goals. We are always going to fulfill our commitments, but sometimes things just take way longer than expected. We have a million pots on the fire. The next thing, of course, is the Kindred of the Abyss. Now, we've learned from each of our campaigns, and the last campaign was an amazing lesson in basically learning how things can go with timelines, deadlines, and working with an abundance of success. So with that in mind, what we're doing with the next campaign is basically making sure our pre-schedule for all of the stretch goals is established even if they don't get fulfilled. And that was kind of the mistake we made. Is Jackson from Golden Dragon Games, who's sculpting most of the minis, basically ended up getting dumped with all these stretch goals like, hey, can you do these? He has his own company, Patreon, and also campaign. So he's basically only been able to work on it when he can. Now, with that said, we're actually approaching a point where a lot of the final stretch goals are all being worked on at the same time, and our commitment is to not release the Sisters of the Old Blood campaign until all of the miniatures are fulfilled. Now, that will leave some paper product sort of things, some PDFs that aren't fulfilled from the Kindred campaign, but the reason for that is we actually need all of the minis sculpted, all of the minis printed, all of the minis painted, so that we can do photography and things like that to finish out those sort of digital ones. Suffice to say, we'll be working on them as soon as all of the Kindred things are finished. Then there's Magnascape. Magnascape is, of course, the RPG tile set you might have heard about, and we attempted to launch it. We made a few mistakes with the launch of that, and it didn't go super successfully. We decided to cancel it and basically make some huge fundamental improvements, triple the size of the product offering. And we'll talk about that in another video, but effectively what happens when you're developing products is you often have different people, different pipelines working on different things. And it's just sort of happened that because we've had to delay delay the Magnascape project and do a whole bunch more work to kind of make it even better, and hopefully people will be more excited about it on the relaunch. It's just meant that Patrick Keith from Bombshell Minis, who's been sculpting the Sisters, has got to a point where we're basically ready to start the Sisters campaign. So we just kind of bumped Magnascape to after. Originally it was going to be Magnascape then Sisters in the order we were releasing things, and it's flipped now. So it's now Sisters and then Magnascape. So all of the stuff is still being produced, all the stuff is still being worked on. That's a production update for where everything's at and when you can expect things. So expect all of the remaining Kindred minis in the next couple of months alongside that Space Bear short story. Then there'll be the launch of this campaign, and while that campaign is fulfilled and all the work for the Sisters is handed to sculptors to work on the minis, we will then be finishing out the paper PDF lore documents, photography and painting for the Kindred campaign. Anyway, we're really pumped for it. That's where everything's at. Hopefully those who are curious sort of enjoyed that update. And I think, in fact, the next Kindred models are going out next week. So there'll be another model for people who have backed the Kindred project. But if you didn't get a chance to, you'll be able to sort of lay it back as part of the Sisters project. That is all from me. Goodbye.
I can't believe how big this project has really been looking at it in hindsight. It's such a huge lead up to something that I never even thought was a possibility or a reality until now. I'm so proud of the work that everyone has put into this release, the people we've sourced and my teammates. And I'm also proud of myself as well. And holy moly, I can say without a doubt that the team and I agree this is probably one of the coolest things we've ever released. We've got some amazing videos lined up over the next few months for you guys that will show off in more detail what we've been up to. And of course, showing off the minis as well. This is including, finally, a Sisters of the Old Blood and Traitor Guard battle report. Yeah! I've only been waiting a casual, 3 years?
And we can announce here that the next project is actually going to be Alpha Legion aligned Traitor Guard fighting Jen's Sisters kill team that we've seen on the channel.
I'm going to now take this home.
No, because we have to play a kill team game on it.
Oh, yeah, true.
So I'm really looking forward to making my Chaos Renegade Guard kill team to fight your Sisters of Battle on this board. It's going to be a lot of fun and I'm super hyped for it. So get hyped for more battle reports.
Woo! But yes, a battle report will be coming soon. It's booked in, it's in the calendar, we're doing it.
You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
So please stay tuned, like, subscribe, do all that stuff if you can, because it always helps out the channel and keeps you updated with everything that's going on. And very lastly, a huge thank you to you guys for watching this video and for sticking around as well, watching any of the Sisters videos that have come in the past and the ones that will come in the future. Again, as I mentioned at the start of this video, this is something that I have been holding on to for a really long time, and I really did want it to be sort of the little bow tie at the end of this present when it comes to taking a step back for a little bit. So I couldn't be prouder to be standing here and presenting you guys with something that's been a long time coming, but I'm really proud of. So thank you all so much, and I'll see you in the next video.
You know what? I'll play us out.
We got a #1 victory royale. Yeah, Fortnite, we bout to get down. 10 kills on the board right now. Just wiped out Tomato Town.